Hey everyone, welcome to my Stitch With Me. It's been a while since I've done one of these. I thought that I would record one for you. Today we are working on this one. It is the Charting Creations Daydream Sea Turtles, and it is adapted from artwork by Sheena Pike. So that is the one that I will be working on. I hope the angle is okay, and I hope my fat head doesn't get in the road too much of my stitching. So you might notice at times that I am currently going to be stitching two-handed, but sometimes I will switch to one-handed stitching. That is because I have 7 stitches in my arm. If you have seen my updates, my whip updates, you'll know that I had a couple of biopsies on a few spots on my arms. They came back as cancer. So I went and got the biggest one removed yesterday. That was pretty sort of, yeah, I was stressing out just a little bit about being able to feel it, but that's, I think most people will stress out about that. But yes, it ended up being quite a chunk of my arm that they removed. And I have 7 stitches in it, so it is a little bit tender and a little bit sore. I have got a pillow under it at the moment, propping it up, but I will probably swap backwards and forwards between two-handed stitching and one-handed stitching. Obviously, my one-handed stitching goes so much slower, because I'm not used to it as much, but I still get some stitches in, so that's all right then. All right, so yeah, as I said, I did go and have them couple of spots removed, so that is just a warning. Oh well, I had one spot I had the biggest spot removed. The other one, the smaller one, have to go back in 4 to 6 weeks to get it taken out. So I'm gonna have some pretty gnarly scars on my arm for a while. I was joking around with the daughter that once they healed and that I might have to go and get a tattoo to cover the scars. I mean, the scars don't worry me. It's not an issue having the scars there. But yeah, we were laughing and I was joking around that we'd have to go and get a tattoo. I'd have to go and get a tattoo, and she said, oh well, why don't we get matching ones? So if I can bring myself to doing it, that might be something that I'll do down the track. We were laughing after the biopsy. When we were talking, she was asking me, did it hurt and did I feel it? And I said, bloody oath I felt it, because they didn't give me any local anesthetic to do it. They just put the numbing gel on them. And when he chomped it to take the sample for the biopsy, I definitely felt that, but I didn't feel him stitching it up. And my daughter says to me, oh well, you went into your happy place when he was stitching. And I said, well, yeah, I did. And she comments back to me and says, oh Mum, you could have done a stitch with me. And I started laughing and I said, well, it's probably one that nobody really wants to see. But, and then when I went and got this one taken out, I was saying to a few of them on one of my chat groups and that the doctor's needlework skills better be up to scratch when he sewed my arm up, because if not, I might have to give him a few pointers. But yeah, my arm is a little bit tender. It's a little bit, it's sore, it's tight. I did take a couple of Panadol an hour or so ago, so I think that is kicking in at the moment, so it's not feeling too bad. But it is quite sore. So I got today off work. The doctor gave me today off because he didn't want me doing anything too strenuous at work. Obviously, working in hospitality, you're always using your arms, whether it's making a coffee or carrying plates or anything like that. You're always using your hands and your arms. And we do have outside furniture that we have to put out and bring back in of an afternoon. So he didn't want me lifting the chairs and tables, so I got today off, and tomorrow being Thursday is my rostered day off anyway, so I get two days off to let my arm settle down a little bit before I go back to work on Friday, which is pretty good. I wasn't sure if I would be able to do any stitching because it was so sore, but it's just lucky that I've got my Gus floor stand and I can stitch one-handed if needs be, as slow as it may be. So that's that. As we all probably know by now, the Queen passed away last week, and obviously with Australia being part of the Commonwealth, it is going to have some impacts on certain things. At the moment on our coins, we have the Queen. Obviously they've all got to be changed and now have the King's face put onto them. Our $5 notes, they also have the Queen on them. There is a bit of a debate on what should be done with them, whether we should put the King on them or whether we should just put someone totally different that's more Australian on them. It has also brought up the big debate that's been in Australia for years about Australia becoming a republic. I have my own views on that, and I don't really want to get political or anything like that, but I believe Australia is not strong enough as a country to become a republic. To me, becoming a republic means that you think that you are quite capable to stand out on your own. You have the military and everything to be able to back you up if anyone tries to take over your country or anything like that, and we definitely don't have that type of military. There's also so much that changes, letterheads, all that sort of stuff. All that's got to change. And to be honest, our government really isn't capable of running under a republic law system anyway. So yeah, so the Queen's passed, and here where I live, we hold an annual festival Jacaranda festival for the trees. We have over, I think there's over 1,700 Jacaranda trees planted around our town. And we hold an annual festival every year at the end of October for 2 weeks, and there's all types of things that's involved in that. There's Jacaranda Ball, which we actually cater for at work. Last year it was for 500 people. This year it's probably going to be for about the same amount of people. You have the Jacaranda Ball, we have the Queen crowning, or I think this year they're actually calling it the Jacaranda representative crowning, because they've opened it up for, they have made it gender neutral, so anyone can apply and run for that. But one of the things that we do, we have a big crown, a big metal structure crown that goes on top of our clock tower in the middle of our main street on one of our roundabouts. And during the whole festival, it gets lit up purple. And when the Queen passed, a lot of people said, well, why don't we bring forward, because it's not up, the crown isn't up all year round. It only gets put up, I think it's a week or 2 weeks before the festival starts. And a lot of people said, why don't we bring it forward by a couple of weeks and put the crown up and light it up in purple in honour of Queen Elizabeth? And so our council and the Jacaranda committee and a couple of local businesses that are always involved in placing the crown into position got together, and it went up this morning, I think it was, at 6 o'clock this morning, and it is going to be lit up in honour of the Queen, which I think is a lovely gesture from our town. So yeah, that's just something that we're doing in honour of her. If I can, I will find a couple of pictures off the internet of the crown all lit up, and I'll tack it on to the end of this video just so you can see what it looks like. But yeah, so our Jacaranda festival is quite big. It is the oldest running flower festival in Australia. It's been going for, I think we celebrated the 80th birthday of it a couple of years ago, so we might be up to 85 years of it running. And we have dress up days, like where the shops all dress up in different, they can choose their own theme and they dress up, and we hold competitions where, in conjunction with the dressing up, the shops put on like a little show, and we close all the main street off, and there's markets and everything. And it's usually a really good day if the young ones don't get around acting like fools. But yeah, usually it is quite a good day. And then we have what we used to call the Venetian Carnival on the Friday night, but it is now called the Riverlight Carnival. And that is where we set up a big stage on the banks of our river, and all local performers have an opportunity to get on the stage and perform. So it comes down to all the dance studios and all that sort of stuff. Young musicians, everything like that get up and have a chance to perform on the stage. And then at the end of the night, we used to have fireworks. I don't know if they do anymore. But there's food vans and all that sort of stuff there. So it makes it a really good family night out, if you're not working, that is. And then we go into Saturday, where we usually have big markets at our TAFE. The grounds of our TAFE are huge, and their market stall holders come from all over, and that's usually another big thing. And then that afternoon we have our float procession, where it's usually the shops and all that dressed up on the Thursday have a float, and we go, because our main street's pretty big, we go up one side of the main street and they go down the other. And then we finish off on the Sunday with a baby competition and stuff like that. But yeah, there's 2 weeks of just activities and all that stuff. It's pretty good. Brings a lot of tourists into the area for that 2 weeks. We have our Jacaranda avenues are pretty world famous. I might see if I can find a couple of... If you just search up Jacarandas or Jacaranda Festival Australia, Grafton, Australia, you will see a lot of photos come up. And we, as I said, we do have a lot of international visitors come over. Some of them are that intent on getting the perfect shot of the Jacaranda trees that they put themselves in danger on the roads. We do a lot of swerving and trying to miss all the tourists in the middle of the roads, trying to get their Instagram shot of these trees. But yeah, that's just something that we do here. What is that? Just snip off this waist knot without cutting thread that's just there. Oh, thought it was a bit of the waist knot. Snip that off. All right, so what else have I got to talk about? Not a great deal, I don't think. I was saying way back in my other stitch with me about putting some photos in of some of our walks that we've done in national parks. So I will put some of them in at the end. We've done quite a few walks all over the area. So I think the first one that I might do is I might just put in some photos of one of the closest ones that we tend to go to quite a bit, and that is Woolgoolga Nature Reserve. It's only small, it's only a 1 think it's a 1.8 kilometre walk to the waterfall, and then 1.8 kilometres back, but you go over there's a lot of creek crossings and stuff like that. It is a really good walk, just a short walk, but you always find lots of things to look at. There's a lot of goannas down there, and yeah, scrub turkeys and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it is just a really good short walk, and it's only half an hour down the road from us, so it's just one of those things where we can pack up a picnic and go down and have something to eat, and then go for a bit of a walk to see the waterfall. And that is one of our probably closest and one of our favourite ones to go to. It's been closed for quite a while, I think since about March, because of all the rain that we had. There was a bit of a landslip on the road, so they had to fix that. The council had to fix that, and then apparently there was something. The National Parks and Wildlife Service had to go in and fix a lot of the road and the walking tracks and stuff actually in the reserve because of all the rain. Of course, the creek swelled up and took out a lot of the infrastructure that was in there. So that's been closed for quite a while. It reopened back in end of August, I think it was. I haven't checked again on the National Parks website to see if it is reopened. But we haven't really been going anywhere anyway because petrol is so expensive over here at the moment. We are paying here where we are, we're paying over $1.80 a litre, and that is just for unleaded petrol. Like your E10 unleaded petrol. Your high octane, your 95 or whatever, they're paying $1.90, if not nearly $2 a litre, and your diesel is like $2.20 a litre. So at the moment to fill our four-wheel drive up, it costs us $120 instead of $70. So we've cut back on a lot of our driving and stuff because it's just too expensive to drive anywhere. This year I really wanted to go on a whale watching tour, but I haven't got there yet. Once again with petrol and stuff like that, and then back and forwards to the doctors with my arm, and whale watching season. And I mean, COVID is still running pretty rampant in our area actually. So, and whale watching season is coming to a close, so unfortunately I don't think I'm going to get there this year. Not unless I can make a booking in the next couple of weeks. But hopefully I will get there one year. I really, really want to go out and do a whale watch tour. So the son has been off school because he got suspended from school for being a little shit. So he's been off, and so I told him, it's not a holiday. You're not going to just sit around home playing games and watching telly all day. So I made him get out and do chores out in the paddocks, which I think after a couple of days he was not real happy about, but that's just the way things go. You want to be a shithead at school and get suspended, you're not going to sit at home and have a holiday. But one afternoon when I got home from work, he was still out in the paddock. We were actually waiting for 2 big round bales of hay to be delivered, one here and one up the road where a couple more of our horses are registered. We were waiting for those to be delivered, and we were just out in the paddocks with the horses and stuff and taking no notice, and next minute we hear a screech and brakes and everything on the road, and we look up and this 4-wheel drive had basically locked his brakes up, and there was a fair bit of smoke pouring out, and we're like, holy shit, wonder what happened there. And then he sort of drove off, and Nash looked up and he said, what's that thrashing up there? And we could see something thrashing over on the side of the road. And I was like, oh shit, he must have hit a kangaroo. Because our road that we are on is pretty well known for having quite a few roos. And I mean, there's roo signs up on the roads, and people know that there's roos out here all the time, but it still doesn't stop them driving like a lunatic. So I said, let's just give it a couple of minutes and we might go up and check on this kangaroo just to see if he's injured or dead. Well, not even 5 minutes after that happened, we were watching the kangaroos up on the hill, and this one kangaroo started to hop down the embankment, and this little white car came flying along the road. And if they didn't see the kangaroo hopping down the embankment onto the road, they were totally bloody blind, let me tell you. And we're standing there yelling out, "Roo, Roo, watch out for the Roo." And this car just put their foot down and ploughed into this kangaroo. And this poor animal just flew up into the air, had to have flown into the air good 2 or 3 meters up into the air, and then hit the side of the road, and bits and pieces of this car went flying everywhere, and they just kept driving. Didn't even look back. They had to have done some decent damage to their car, because it was only a little white, I call them a pregnant rice bubble, but it was like a little white hatchback. Had to have done some decent damage. And we still hadn't got the hay. The hay still hadn't arrived, and I was like, no, I was so cranky. And I was like, no, I'm going up to check on these 2 kangaroos. So the son came with me, and he's running up the road like a lunatic. I said to him, oi, slow down, because if either of those kangaroos are still alive and they're injured and you go belting up on them, they're going to take to you. So he slowed down, and we're going up, and the first one that got hit, it was a male kangaroo, and it was deceased. And then we walked about 5 metres further up the road, and the second kangaroo was there. It was also deceased, but unfortunately it was a female with a hairless joey in her pouch. Now, if the joey had have been older and viable to take out of the pouch, I would have brought it home myself and raised it. But as it was, I knew that this joey was too young for me to do anything with. So I got straight onto Facebook, onto one of our local community pages, and just put up a quick post saying, look, I've seen these 2 kangaroos being hit. They're both deceased. Both adults are deceased. One's a male, one's a female. The female has a hairless joey. Is there any wires carers? Now, wires is our wildlife. Wildlife, I'm trying to remember what it actually stands for. Wildlife something rescue something, so and environmental services, something like that. But anyway, they come out and they pick up all injured Australian native wildlife, and they usually rehabilitate them, take them back, let them back out in the bush. So I said, is there any wise carers close that can come and check on this joey, see if it's viable? By this time, the hay had arrived, and I had to help get that out. We flipped one of them over the fence for the mares here, and I had to jump in the car and take off up the road so he could deliver the one up the road to the mares on agistment. We'd done that. It wouldn't have been 10-15 minutes between when I posted the notice up on Facebook to when I was coming back home, and there was this car on the side of the road where the kangaroos had been hit. So I stopped and I was like, oi, what are you doing? And he said, are you the one that put the whatsy up on Facebook? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he goes, oh, I'm a wise carer. I've taken the whole body of the kangaroo because the joey's too small and I don't want to stress the joey out too much. So I'll take the body of the kangaroo and see if I can get this joey to survive. So that's what happened. I haven't heard anything since that. That was probably a good week, maybe 2 weeks ago. Haven't heard anything since that. So whether the joey survived or not, as I said, the issue is when they're hairless joeys, they are very difficult to look after and survive. But I'm surprised that this joey even survived getting hit, or his mum getting hit and flying through the air. It just goes to show you how well protected they are in those pouches. But yeah, I was so cranky that these 2 cars had hit these kangaroos. I know most people would class them as a pest here in Australia, but they are one of our native animals and they don't deserve to be ploughed down on the roads like that. And they are pretty harmless most of the time. But yeah, poor little bugger. I hope he did manage to survive. And the son was absolutely devastated that we couldn't take this joey. He really wanted to take this joey and try to raise it himself. And as I said, if it had been older, had a bit of hair, had hair on it and stuff, I would have attempted it, but not as young as it was. He is a bit of a animal lover, the son. He even from a little boy, he loved animals. He used to sit out in the backyard and collect ants. He'd take my Tupperware containers out there and he would pick up ants without squashing them. Like in your little pincer grip, he'd pick them up without squashing them and put them into these Tupperware containers, and then he'd bring them inside. Ants, for God's sakes. And that's what I used to say to him, you can't keep bringing the ants inside. So we ended up getting him an ant farm. But he has always been an animal lover. He, yeah, just loves animals. I don't even know what else to talk about. There hasn't been much happening. Oh, Australia's has been officially declared of another La Nina this season. So that means we are going to get higher than average rainfall during spring and summer. And of course that means, more than likely means, more flooding. Which is not a good thing because poor old Lismore is only just starting to recover from the floods back in March. Some of the shops are just starting to open back up. As for people's houses, I don't really know what's going on there, but yeah, some of the shops are just starting to open back up. They did just come out and say that the ice cream factory up there will not be reopening. They're laying off all of their workers. So unfortunately that is going to be a big blow for the area. And that is our the Norco ice cream factory. They're laying off all their workers because apparently, despite getting a $35 million grant off the government, they still can't open the factory. No, that is wrong. Where am I going from? Oh, over here. One, two, get that out right so I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, we're heading back into La Nina. I suppose it's better than bushfires, but this is the third consecutive year that Australia has been declared in a La Nina. All we can do is hope and pray that we don't get as much rain as what they're predicting we are going to get. God, my left hand is absolutely bloody useless. Get in the hole there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, all we can do is hope and pray that we don't get the amount of rain that they are predicting. That it will still be a wet season, but it's just not going to be an overly wet season. Because none of us really need that at all in this area. I mean, honestly, the ground is still wet from the last flood, and I mean that's mainly because we went from straight into autumn straight into winter, and we've still got puddles of water out in our back paddocks that haven't dried up, and that was from the flood that came through. I mean, we were lucky enough that we didn't have that much damage happen. We only had some fences and stuff, some of our electric fences go down that had to be replaced. Other than that, we didn't really have too much damage, thank God. I really feel sorry for areas like Lismore and that were totally wiped out. I think if they get another major flood, I don't know if they'll survive. Yeah, I don't know if they'll survive. If they get another major flood through, I think everyone will just pack up and leave. Leave the town, leave the area. But I think the flood was only as bad as it was because they put in a new highway to get to Queensland, and they didn't, when they put it in, the engineers, they just go off the computer, what the computer says, and what the computer says is the best route to put the highway. And they don't actually talk to any of the locals or get down on the ground and check out the area that they're putting it through. They just go, yeah, that's what the computer told, that's where the computer told us to put it, so that's where we're putting it. And so that's what they done, and they created like a big dam. So Australia has a lot of natural wetland and swampy areas that retain water when it rains, but it also, there's areas where it flows off, and where they've put the new highway through has blocked those drainage areas off, so none of the water could drain away like it used to. So of course the highways just acted like a big dam wall, and there was only one, say the highway goes along here, all the wetlands are in here, there was only one little estuary up here where all the water could run out from, and it's just created like a big mess. I know my cousin who lives up in Woodburn, they're in a 2-story place. He lifted the old place up another 6 bricks because they bricked all underneath, and he lifted up another 6 bricks. Sorry about that. The partner just came up and needed some more batteries for one of the electric fence energizers, so I had to get them out of the cupboard for him. What was I saying? Oh yeah, my cousin, he lifted his house up by 6 more what we call Besser bricks here in Australia. So they're not just your little house bricks, they're like a bigger grey brick. And They never, it was the old farmhouse that his mum and dad lived in anyway. The old dairy farmhouse. Hasn't been a dairy for a long, long time. The bottom level was only ever, I think it was the laundry and just storage and carport underneath. All the living quarters, main living quarters, were upstairs in the second floor. It always flooded where they are, hence why the house was 2 stories and nothing major downstairs. And it used to only be on stilts, wooden stilts. And he thought, once his parents died and he inherited the place, he thought that he would just brick in. So then the stilts were getting a little bit rickety and all that sort of stuff. So he thought that he'd make it more of a solid foundation and brick it in. But he thought he'd add that little bit of extra height with the 6 extra bricks. So that's what he'd done. And just for comparison, this place is now taller than your average 2-story house. The water came to the gutters of the house. They lost, him and his disabled sister that he cares for, they lost absolutely everything. It was, and he said he had never seen water like it. He's in his 60s. And he said he'd never ever, and he's lived there all his life, and he said he's never ever seen that amount of water in his whole life. So it was a lot of water, unprecedented amount of water there. Absolutely devastating for so many families and areas. So hopefully something will be done. They'll put more drainage points into the highway or something. I don't know. They're going to have to do something so it doesn't happen again. But as I've always said, we want to build on floodplains. We want to build on major river systems and stuff like that. We do have to expect the flooding to occur. And if you live in a flood-prone area, you do have to be prepared. But then again, nothing ever prepares you for something like that to happen. Just like if you live in the middle of the bush, you need to have your fire safety plan in place. So you can either get out or you can try and save your house. But I suppose that's probably just too much common sense these days, which seems to be in short supply with a lot of people. What are we at? Nearly 50 minutes, I think. So I might wrap it up here in a second. I might just finish off these last few stitches left on this thread and see how many I got done. You've probably noticed that for a fair bit of it I have done single-handled stitching, which makes me go a bit slower, but I think the Panadol's wearing off because my arm is starting to ache again. It's feeling a little bit tight and sore. So I think, yeah. I've been on a bit of a sewing spree lately. If you've seen my last whip parade, you've seen my fully finished object, which was my wall hanging of my Sacred Connections, also by Charting Creations. Hoping to get the, what's today, Wednesday, hoping to get the hooks up on the wall and that this week, maybe tomorrow or over the weekend or something. So on my next whip update, it is hanging up behind me. I've had so many comments about it, about how amazing it looks. So thank you everyone for those comments, very much appreciated. It did turn out absolutely amazing, if I do say so myself. Absolutely amazing. It turned out, it's just, yeah. It's one of those things, I just love it. And the daughter loves it as well, and the partner keeps saying, because her birthday's coming up in October, he keeps saying, oh, let's just give it to the daughter for a birthday present. And I'm like, oh, hang on, she can have it when I cark it. Or she's going to have to wait until I die to get it. Either that, or when I finish something else and make it into a wall hanging, I might pass it on to her. But I think because it turned out so well, I think that might be what I am going to do with a lot of my larger projects. Is when I finish them, I will make them into wall hangings. They are so much easier to store because you can just fold them up and store them away rather than having them framed and have to worry about the glass being broken or the frame being broken or anything like that. And you can easily just swap them out for wherever you've got your hooks and that placed. So I think it's a really good idea to do wall hangings. And if they do get a bit dirty, you can just always throw them in the washing machine. Give them a bit of a wash and they're all good to be hung back up. So I am at the end of my thread. I will leave it as that. Let me just mark this off, see how many we've done. Oh, that's still not too bad, I don't think. Is that just what I stitched then, or is that saying I've done 293 stitches, but I can't, no, that can't be it. That might have included what I've done earlier. I am currently at 1.20% on this though, so charting creation charts are pretty easy to follow. They're so easy to stitch up. It's just that the patterns are huge, and when you're using 16 or 18 count like I generally do, it makes the finished project. Ooh, nearly threw that in my scrap bucket. It makes it quite big, then makes them quite large projects when you're using 16 or 18 count, but that's my go-to fabric, so that's what I'm sticking to. But yeah, 293, I think I've done 100 and I think in this session I might have done 110. 110 stitches. Because there's no way I've done 293 just then. Nah, surely not. I will double check that, and I will put in on the screen how many I actually did. Alright guys, thanks for joining me for this Stitch With Me. I'll try to get another one done in a couple of weeks' time. Don't know what I'll talk about, but I'm sure I'll find something. If you've got any questions or any suggestions on subjects that I can talk about, leave them down in the comments box, and I will endeavour to answer them on the next Stitch With Me, whenever that may be. But yeah guys, I will see you on Monday, this coming Monday. What will the date be? What's the date today? Today's the 14th? Yes it is. So it'll be like the 18th, 19th. Anyway, it'll be this coming Monday that I'll do a whip update of what I've stitched on in the last 2 weeks. Alright guys, wherever you are in the world, take care and stay safe, and happy stitching. Until next time, see you all then. Bye.